Randy DePasquale said, I hope I'm getting that right, was there a set of personality traits or thought processes common to most folks who worked at ILM? It seems like a place that would need diverse minds to create the ideas, but common attitudes to bring those ideas to reality. That is a really interesting insight. I'm not sure well, okay. I will say, for the most part, the model shop was very like-minded. I mean, and socially, politically, artistically, we all listened to NPR on the way to work and we chatted about the events of the day. I do remember at one point finding out that somebody who I knew's politics about the death penalty were radically different than mine. And I was surprised that, but I mean, for the most part, none of that really came into the discussion between us. And it was, I wrote something in response to another question. There we go. Okay, so Ryan Massey has a question whose answer dovetails with Randy DePasquale's. Ryan says, after watching Light and Magic on Disney Plus, I was surprised to see the adaptability and flexibility required by ILM magicians, especially in the early days. So often it was not the task they were hired for that became their legacy and specialty. Can you think of a skill set or class of skill sets being at the ILM workshop forced you to learn? And Ryan asks for advice for someone trying to be more adaptable. Well, it's not enough to just want to be more adaptable, because being adaptable, it's about okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Randy DePasquale was asking about personality traits at ILM, and Ryan Massey is wondering about the same thing, the skill set or class of skill sets that I learned at ILM. The first thing I want to tell you about the ILM model shop that makes it remarkable was that there was effectively no punching down whatsoever. No punching down. By punching down, I mean supervisors yelling at staff. That's punching down, and that's bullshit. You shouldn't. That's just, I just don't agree with that as a way of supervising people. Don't get me wrong. You have to sometimes share unwelcome information with people. That's part of supervising. But, you know, I always loved hearing when somebody was touring the early SNL set and John Belushi was showing them around. Belushi's thing, he said, was, I only yell at the executives, never the staff. That's punching up. Tom Hanks in Saving Private Ryan, when his crew asks him, why don't you complain? He points out he only complains up and almost never at that. That no punching down is really, really, really important. It meant that if at one point on Terminator 3, I was running over time. And my soup on that, Brian, was unsure whether I was going to be able to complete the task by the day it needed to be delivered. And instead of we talked about it later. He didn't want to increase my stress because I'm already trying to get this whole thing done. He just sent more people to me. And I realized, oh, there's more people showing up. I think I'm running behind. Okay, yeah, you can do this and you could do this. And we got it done on the day of. That is a lovely, lovely thing. And I watched the supervisors at ILM do that a lot. I saw them stress a ton, but they were really careful not to pass that down to their crew because they wanted the crew to work just on what they were working on. It's a great axiom that one of the things you do as a supervisor is you take the crap that's coming your way and you don't pass it on. From either direction, really. Yeah. And that's an important bulwark you provide to your crew when you're doing that. These are all of my thoughts on supervision. Yours may totally be different, and that is completely valid. But I found I loved how caretaking that was. Now, I learned a tremendous amount from that. That was one of the main skills. The other thing is that ILM was populated. I mean, you got hired, you lasted up there if you were self-contained. And that's a term that I use for someone who is self-motivated and isn't adding work to their supervisor's job. Self-contained means you take work, you don't make work. You are given a task and you just take care of that task. That sounds like that shouldn't be that hard to find, but it can be really, really hard to find. The thing about, so I guess if I'm going to go zoom out one more level and talk about that personality trait, it is more of a personality trait of the film industry than it is of Industrial Light and Magic specifically. Don't get me wrong. I know that there are ADs and other folks who can punch down, but for the most part, my experience of the film industry was, it was not a very, the sets that I worked on in commercials and on special effects in films, I spent very few days on a feature film set filming live action, was that there was not a lot of buck passing, not a lot of punching down, not a lot of abuse from supervisors to the supervisees. And that film is when it's running correctly, is an army of problem solvers, like just an incredible ant farm of problem solvers. And the thing about solving problems in film, and this is where I'm getting to your question, Ryan, about being more adaptable, is it's not about being more adaptable in a vacuum. It's about adapting to the circumstances that you are presented with and how you're going to get the job done. That's adaptability. When I first worked in commercial special effects, I saw Jamie Heineman do something that was remarkable to me, which was he had spent several days building this gag for a Toys R Us commercial, one of 14 we were filming on this day. 14 commercials. It was insane. And he had built this rig that was supposed to work, and the morning of the big shoot, this one rig, which was the most complex rig of all 14 shoots, broke, failed utterly. And I remember just thinking, like, what is going to happen? And Jamie went to the director and said, the rig we built failed. Here are 3 options. Option 1 will take 1 hour. You'll get this result. You'll get this. You'll have to do this amount of adjustment. Option 2 will take 2 hours. You'll get this result. It'll take this amount. Option 3 will take overnight, but tomorrow, blah, 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 blah. And then the director just chose one. And no one got mad at anybody. And we just proceeded. This is what I love about deadlines, is they refine your decision tree. So being adaptable is being willing to refine your decision tree based on the parameters in front of you. That is an important skill to have. And so the question to keep asking yourself is, what'll it take to get this across the line by the time it's needed? Not, if we had a couple more weeks, we could make this really great. Nobody cares. And that's always going to be the case. If you had a couple more weeks, you could make it really nice. What really matters is, can you get it there by Tuesday, and will it be ready for filming? And everything else falls to the wayside. And that mindset is a film mindset, and it deeply imbued the ILM workplace. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.